Hey guys, so I want to make an updated build guide for my current multi-mirror line hour Deadeye. I also have a more budget-friendly one down linked below. But yeah, this is essentially an ES stacking, mana stacking, Temporalis Deadeye. I want to go everything about this build. I think this is probably the final version of the build. So I have some breach, gameplay in the background. Also show some boss DPS real quick as well. But yeah, this build is absolutely amazing now. I think I've kind of almost like perfected the build. So this is probably the last update until the big, nerf balance patch, whatever you want to call it, that comes around, like a week or two. So let's go over the whole build. There's just some standard breach gameplay. It's very, very fast. Temporalis is pretty broken. I'll go over that in a second as well. So before we begin, I'll also show some boss DPS. The DPS is quite absurd now, obviously, as it should be, as this character is multi-mirrors. I didn't properly place down my arrows, but yeah, he dies in 1 second. So this build is, over 34 million DPS. Probably more if I, place my stuff properly, maybe change some stuff around, whatever, right? But yeah, obviously he has a force phase. You can't actually insta-kill him. Just want to show right here. But yeah, build is over 34 million DPS. It is quite absurd. So this is the full character, and the first things first is why Temporalis? So I really think if you're not playing with Temporalis or Queen of Forest in the current meta, if you have the currency, I think you're just trolling. These items are absolutely insane. Every single build should be playing with Temporalis or Queen of Forest if you have the currency to make it work. You're on Deadeye, you can use Temporalis. The ability is just ridiculous. It's absurd. Why would you not use this? It's faster than going at move speed. The only thing that matches this, like I said, is Queen of the Forest, which is also very strong. And that would be another option if Temporalis does get nerfed in the future. So yeah, that's number one. I do think every single build in the game, if you have the currency, should 100% be using Temporalis or Queen of Forest, as mobility is king in this game, and those are the only two items that actually give any form of ability. So I'll quickly go over all the other items, skills, all that, and a mobalytics guide as well. So yeah, mirror bow. I put LA damage in the bow because LA damage is actually the best. I mapped this out recently. But yeah, LA damage in the bow is better than iron runes. Now, keep in mind, this is for my current setup. This may not be true for you, but it is true for me. Plus 5 projectile skills, adds a lot of mana cost. I'll go over that in a second. Of course, it has the +2 arrows and attack speed. And it's a pure fizz bow. The reason why it's pure fizz, because it's the highest DPS bow you can get in the game, is by going pure fizz. Azuri sustain with 30 spirit corruption. The reason for the 30 spirit corruption is that this build does require 180 spirit. A way you can get around that is, instead of using this against the darkness, mine is cold and land damage. You could instead use against the darkness with cold and spirit. This would also solve the spirit issue, and therefore you wouldn't need 30 spirit in a helmet. And you can also get away with a lesser spirit amulet, as this gives you 60 spirit. So yeah, you only need 20 spirit in an amulet, which would make it pretty easy. So yeah, why Azuri sustain? So it's the highest ES helmet in the game, and a lot of people don't realize this. It also does give mana, which is useful to this build. And the damage taken by Pest Energy Shield, the third line there, is actually extremely good to split the damage between your Energy Shield and mana, so your Energy Shield doesn't always instantly deplete. I'll go over that in a second as well for the mana part. So yeah, extremely good helmet. You could also use a regular ES helmet, as that would help fix your res. The res is quite tight. My Chaos res is not capped. I don't think I could get a cap for this build. I think I can get like 60%. My rings aren't the best, and my boots aren't the best, so these are items I do need to upgrade. That's the only thing not final about this build right now. So Azuri sustain, because it's a massive amount of energy shield, as you can see here. I'm getting 1600 from it currently. Rarity soul cores in every single slot, of course. I also do want double rarity soul cores on my boots. I just got these boots really quick. They aren't that good. I am looking for better ones. So yeah, these boots aren't the best. Amulet. So amulet, I really want to increase max energy shield, want the spirit, and want the triple rarity. So, one on prefix, one on suffix, and one on implicit. Intelligence and cold res. Ideally, the intelligence would be replaced with +2 projectile skills, but it's very, very hard to get. And maybe I could get a mirror amulet in the future. That would be like one last big upgrade I could get. Outside of the bow, quiver, and an amulet, there probably is nothing else actually worth mirroring in this game currently, I would say. So mirror quiver. This was from some Korean guy from the trade site. Don't know his name, it's in Korean. But yeah, this is the best quiver. It actually is the projectile damage with bow damage, +2 attack speed and dexterity. I don't think the cold damage is actually the best. I do think lightning damage is probably the best right there, but I don't think it matters all that much. The reason why lightning damage is better though is because you get lucky from lightning rod. So yeah, technically I think lightning damage is more damage, but as you saw my boss damage, I don't think more damage matters whatsoever. Rings are just double rarity, mana, flat damage, and resist. That's both rings. I do need slightly better rings. These aren't the best or anything. It's just what I have currently. This will get upgraded. So also the reason why I'm stacking mana is because I will go over this in a second, but I am mind over matter as well. When I return Temporalis already, boots, like I said, these are very replaceable. These are not that good, but these have the stats I want: high energy shield, res, or maybe intelligence with rarity and movement speed. Headhunter, I always put Headhunter. I think it's just better than Ingenuity. As you know, at rarity, there are some like rarity like soft caps you could say. So the bonuses of Ingenuity is not that high. The only reason why I would use Ingenuity is to completely fix, all your resists. It makes it very, very easy. But Headhunter is just way better for mapping. It's really, really good, especially when you steal some speed buffs, especially cast speed buffs, because that'll make your blink faster. So yeah, I do prefer Headhunter a lot for mapping. Hand of Action and Wisdom. These gloves are just ridiculous. As you see, my bow shot damage is 592k. And yeah, without the gloves, it goes to 368k. These are just really stupid. They're very, very overpowered with how much damage they give you. That's about it for the character's gear. I am using a Stone Charm. If I do use a second charm slot, I use a Thawing Charm to become frozen. Pretty much the only way this character dies now is if I actually do get frozen. Nothing else kills me. If you get frozen, you're stuck there for 3 seconds and you can't do anything about it. But in that case, I just log out, no big deal. I might get a second charm slot, which would solve that freezing issue. Yeah, a question I do get a lot is, why not crit? Is crit any good? I think crit's really trash in this game. Well, trash for bow builds. It's pretty good for like monks. The reason why is that bows have 5% base crit. The most you can get is 5% more in a suffix. We give you 10% base crit. Still quite mediocre. And I've seen crit builds, and crit builds are like half of my DPS. So yeah, I really don't think there's any reason to go crit whatsoever. Crit just looks pretty bad in general for bow builds. It's way too much investment. It's way too much passive points. Instead, just go Adorned in the high-end version at least and just stack a bunch of jewels. So that'll lead us into the passive skill tree. And that is, pretty much all jewels. And it's pretty useful because this allows you to travel anywhere, which means we also get the most juicy energy shield nodes in the game. 60% energy shield, 25%, 30%. So yeah, there's massive upsides by going Adorned. So let's talk about that first. So what is Adorned? So this is a very expensive jewel. It's why I don't recommend this build. It's more of a showcase and not a guide, just keep that in mind. But yeah, 100% increase effect of corrupted magic jewels. This is very, very strong, and pretty much every good endgame build is going to be Adorned. Although, like I said, it is quite expensive. I think 100% is like 600 divines. If you are wondering, yes, you don't need 100%. You could get a 94% Adorned and make this build work. So if you do want a more budget option, just keep in mind, budget is going to be like 80 to 90 divines for that Adorned. But yeah, 94% Adorned does also work for this build. But yeah, this is the passive tree. It's essentially just getting all these jewel slots, and all the jewels look like this, where it's attack speed, and the most important stat, increased bonuses gained from equipped quiver. This is how we're scaling to level 36 on our bow shot. And yes, bow shot. I haven't mentioned this yet, but the reason why I'm playing bow shot, it has 0 mana cost, which is great. Because it has 0 mana cost, that means you're not using any mana. That means mind over matter is just a ton of extra EHP to your character. And there's no worry about solving mana. You don't need mana on kill, you don't need mana on leech, don't need life on kill, life on leech. So yeah, very, very strong. And as you show at the Breach Showcase, there's no difference in clear speed by playing Light Arrow or Bow Shot because your entire clear is just Heralds. So if your entire clear is just Heralds, like why does it matter if you use Light Arrow or Bow Shot? Just keep in mind though, I'm only using this because of mana reasons. You should not be using Bow Shot unless you have, like I said, insane bow level skills, because if your Light Arrow is only like 25 or 26, you won't have mana issues. So it's not a big deal for you, right? So only use bow shot if you have insane mana issues like me, and if you have the damage to support bow shot. Because if you don't have really good damage, bow shot won't feel good, but my bow shot one-shots everything, pretty much acts the same thing as Light Arrow. I also get to use Fork, and Fork to summon some more projectiles when it hits an enemy. So you hit an enemy, and then 90 degrees, a projectile shoot out from it, gives you a better clear. So yeah, bow shot is pretty good. It's quite equal to Light Arrow at my gear level. So yeah, Adorned, stacking all the corrupted magic jewels. This is very expensive. Adorned is actually the cheap part of this. These jewels are very, very expensive. Cover bonus plus attack speed. Corrupted go for like 30 to 40 divines each. So keep that in mind if you are trying to copy this. Once again, I don't recommend trying to copy this. I will have a more budget-friendly, non-Adorned version in the description below if you do want to use a Temporalis on a Deadeye, as it is very, very strong. Essentially, we're just going to energy shield or second mana for mind over matter. So we have 3.5k ES, 1.6k mana, 1.5k life, and this all doubles besides the life. So we have mana remnants. Mana remnants, if you don't know what it essentially is the same thing as Grim Feast, where these little pools of puddles spawn, you step over it, and it gives you bonus mana, and you can overflow, and overflow makes you double the mana. So you get 3.2k mana. Then once again, Grim Feast, the same thing, where you get double the energy shield. So you get 7k ES. So yeah, we get 7k ES, 3.2k mana, and like 1.5k HP, which makes it very, very hard to die. And as you can see, I'm actually getting EXP now. And, you know, EXP at level 98 is extremely slow. While also having pretty good rarity. This rarity is not too high. I'll probably make a rarity video soon, but I do want a little bit more rarity. I think my high-end rarity is going to be 290 to 300% once my gear is perfected. I'm missing like 25% rarity for my boots right now. Missing some rarity on rings, so I can definitely get more rarity. I can get around 290 to 300%. So that would be my rarity goal. This build is very high rarity, extremely fast mobility, and also extremely tanky. I don't think you really want anything more from a bow build. You know, you're one-shot on packs everywhere. Use your bow shot and then keep blinking around, right? Also, for the Temporalis real quick, I forgot to mention, but I believe you do need a 3.6 second Temporalis at minimum to get the no cooldown on Blink, as Blink does have a 3.6 second cooldown, and I believe the cooldown reduction from Ingenuity goes after the cooldown of Temporalis, so yeah, just keep that in mind. So to finish off the passage real quick, we're also using Against the Darkness. I think this is the best one, cold and lightning damage. We're taking these nodes right here, not because they're very good, but it's extremely efficient. Essentially, you're spending 4 points to get 16% damage as extra LE damage, while also getting, you know, useful mana points as the Maelstrom Mana Flask. If you don't know what this unique flask does, it's not needed for the build, but it instantly gets you full mana. So it's essentially a instant life flask for this build because we are mind over matter. So all mana takes the damage first. So if our mana ever takes damage, we just press this mana flask and instant full mana. So it is nice to have these extra mana nodes as it does give you more charges. So yeah, that is, you know, quite nice. Pretty high value nodes here. Getting the Kite Run is also pretty high value. I just didn't have the points for it. I would rather have these ES nodes over more damage because, like I said, as you saw, my damage is already overkill. So there's no reason to sacrifice, you know, these defense nodes for more damage. So the last thing to talk about real quick about the passive skill tree is these AoE nodes. So these AoE nodes are actually a breakpoint. You come down here, get Authority, and you anoint Doomsayer, and this gives you the really huge Herald explosions. Our Herald of Ice is currently 3.4 meters. If you don't allocate Doomsayer, then it's 3.2 meters. But also, if you do want more defense, for whatever reason, this build already has enough, you could allocate, you know, some ES node or something, right? So yeah, I think that's about it, mostly for the build. I guess skill gems real quick. If you want to see it, I'll have the mobalytics guide linked down below, of course. But the one thing is on Lightning Rod, for Uber bosses, I do switch right here. I just put Life Tap in here, and I put Martial Temple in here. Reason why you don't want to use Life Tap on a boss, it's completely fine for mapping, but for a boss, you want to spam it, so you want to have the extra mana pool. You don't really need defense anyway because you one-shot the boss, right? So yeah, that's the swap I do for the Uber bosses. I keep it like this for mapping though, as it's pretty nice. It doesn't matter that you're using Life Tap on Lightning Rod for mapping because life is the last thing that takes damage here. They have to go through your full energy shield pool, which is doubled by the way, and your full mana pool, and then your life takes damage. So putting Life Tap on here isn't like a downside of whatsoever. It's better to use life than mana actually because of how mana remnants work. So yeah, these are the skill gems for Lightning Rod real quick. Ice Shot is a placeholder. I don't use this. I just have Cold Mastery in here because sometimes I swap skill gems around. Mana remnants, nothing linked to here. I don't think there's anything you can add to this. Cast on Shock. So I use Cast on Shock for Uber bosses and that's it. I don't activate during mapping whatsoever. You just take off Blink and activate Cast on Shock for Ubers. That's it. And these are the support gems real quick. Herald of Thunder, Herald of Ice. This is the Herald tech I went over in my previous videos. You probably know about this already, but yeah, very, very strong for chain clearing maps. Extremely strong. Over Storms, just to proc a Lightning Rod if you need extra damage. Grim Feast, and then Blink. So yeah, I think that's about it. That's the whole character, that's the whole video. I think the character is now completely finished outside of upgrading a few items. I really like this variant of the build. I probably won't make another video on this character until we get the balanced nerf patch, which I'll update all my guides with when it happens. So real quick, like I said, I did want to mention, I did update the MF endgame version for the budget variant of this. The budget variant as in it's no Adorned. The most expensive piece here is going to be the Temporalis, but besides that, everything else is going to be pretty cheap. If you do want to play this build, but on a more budget, just keep in mind, it's still going to be slightly expensive, but it's still going to have quite a bit of ES. You take all these ES nodes, you take all of these ES nodes as well. Feel free to check this out on the mobalytics link down below. Also added some descriptions about the build as well. So yeah, this is the budget version. I'll have a separate link to this high-end version in a separate mobalytics link because I really don't think you should follow this build unless you have multi-mirrors. It's very, very expensive. You know, mirror bow, you don't need a mirror bow, you don't need a mirror quiver, but for this variant to work, you really need Adorned, and Adorned plus magic jewels is not cheap. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to follow this, or just follow the budget version. So yeah, that's about it. That's the whole build. Last build update until the nerf balance patch, of course. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. But build is, I would say, finished now. Outside of getting a few more, you know, good upgrades. And there's really nothing else to do besides just get some EXP, get some currency, of course. I'm live every day on Twitch if you want to check it out. But yeah, that's about it.